Sin City.
Nothing better than being in Las Vegas.
And here at the track, the Bush brothers return to their hometown with high hopes of a royal flush. But Lady Luck could help the defending champ at Vegas win his second straight ad.
Brad Keselowski wins in Atlanta.
And the closer has dominated this season, but has yet to hit the jackpot.
Harvick had not put a wheel wrong all day long, and now on the money stop, they make a mistake.
I didn't even think I was pushing it. So sorry, guys.
Will the 4-car finally cash in today?
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing. And thank you. Thank you very much.
Race Day is next on FS1.
The third race of the Monster Energy season brings us to one of the brightest, most energetic cities in the world. The city of Las Vegas is one of a kind, as is the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The new NASCAR season continues out west as we get set for 400 miles of intense, high-speed racing. Welcome, everybody, into our Race Day studio. I'm John Roberts, alongside of crew chief Jeff Hammond, driver Wally Dallenbach. And Wally, once again, there is one driver that everybody's trying to rein in.
Yeah, almost one team. I mean, Penske's pretty hot right now. You had Keselowski win in Atlanta. They're on the pole. They won the Xfinity race yesterday. So, yeah, they're on top right now.
But the thing is, though, guys, we're here at another mile-and-a-half racetrack. This is like last week in Atlanta, but there are two totally different types of racetrack. A week ago, we're worried about tire management. We won't have enough tires to get through the weekend. Now, all of a sudden, it's just really just get the best hold you can, because it's going to be a hot, slick racetrack, but you can go for it today, Wally.
But nobody told Brad that yet.
And I don't think he wants to hear it. He's just going to go for it. Now, let's get you a recap of the action so far this weekend. First practice on Friday was led by Martin Truex Jr. and the number 78 team. But qualifying that night gave them the chance to back it up. They were so close, they'll still start second, but it was Brad Keselowski who was able to grab the pole. Yesterday featured two practice sessions. The first one was led by Chase Elliott, the number 24. And happy hour yesterday afternoon was happy again. Chase was second, and this time Martin Truex Jr. found himself fastest. So now let's take a look at the starting grid, and once again we see that Ford horsepower is putting Brad Keselowski up on the front row with Martin Truex Jr.
I like Ryan Blaney. I don't know. I just got a feeling about this guy this weekend. Every practice session, he was running great qualifying effort, so I'm going to be keeping my eye on that.
They're off to a great start so far this year.
Yep.
Yeah, but here on the second page, I'm looking at the teammates, and I'm talking about Ryan Newman and Austin Dillon, especially Austin. They've shown speed this year, guys, and I feel like that this could be the race he gets an opportunity to break out. Had a fifth-place finish here a year ago. Watch this group, this RCR group.
And on yet another race day, another racetrack has rolled out the red carpet for Kenny Wallace. Kenny?
Thanks, John. It was announced over the week that this racetrack, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, is going to get a second date. A lot of people say, why does that racetrack deserve a second date, John? Are you kidding me? Check this out. We are in the Neon Garage, and I'm sure there's a song about that. But what's even bigger is they bring the Las Vegas Strip right here to the Neon Garage. There are thousands of fans right here. They're out of hand, by the way. And not just that. The drivers' meeting is going on amongst the fans right behind my cameraman, and the fans are able to sit there, and they're going to look at Dale Jr. They can almost touch him. This place deserves a second date. Caitlin, what do you have?
Well, Kenny, one team that's off to a strong start for 2017, Casey Kane and this 5 team right behind me. 2 top 10 performances to start out the year, and I checked in with that team earlier today, and they said in terms of this West Coast stretch, it's really important to come out of the gate strong. They said they've been preparing these cars for 4 weeks nonstop for this next 3 stretch of races, so they really want to come out of the gate and have a good showing at Las Vegas. And so far, Casey Kane and crew chief Keith Rodden have been happy with the speed in this 5 car. They were the highest qualifying Hendrick Motorsports car in 7th. And talking with the road crew, they said they have 3 new members on the road crew, but overall, it's a very young, tight-knit group of guys. Also telling me that Casey seems more calm and confident than he ever has in years past. John?
Caitlin, thank you very much. It is a very critical time of the season. It is that time of the year for NASCAR teams to pack up and head west for 3 straight weeks. Let's take a look at just how much travel is in their schedule.
With 2 weeks of the NASCAR season already behind us, we now look ahead to the challenging logistics as NASCAR goes west. We started home base for most of NASCAR's Cup teams, Concord, North Carolina. The first stop on the West Coast Tour is Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That means the Cup teams will load up their haulers and head 2,236 miles west. NASCAR's best then battle for 267 laps around a 1.5 mile track for a total of 401 miles. From there, it's just a short 300 miles south to Phoenix Raceway for 312 laps of hard racing around the short 1 mile oval. Final stop on the tour is Fontana, California, just east of L.A. The teams travel further west out of Phoenix for 321 miles, arriving at California Speedway in time for the drivers to log 400 miles on this big, fast 2 mile oval. After the winner sprays champagne in California's victory lane, it's 2,440 miles back to North Carolina. That's a total of 5,297 miles covered, plus another 1,113 miles on the track. But it's all worth it in the end, because the world's best drivers will compete on the left coast for 3 straight weekends when NASCAR goes west.
So, in other words, Jeff Hammond, you better be ready.
You better be ready. And the thing is, you think about all those miles and the windshield time that transporter drivers have put in to get the cars out there. Let's don't forget all the work, and Caitlin touched on that. A lot of work, a lot of preparation. That's the main thing, is all the planning that goes into having these cars ready to go racing, because you know, your 1.5 mile car that you run in Atlanta, you're not running it this weekend. You've got to have another one. And you got to have cars ready for Phoenix. And they left on Friday. Teams that have 4 teams, they sent 8 cars to the West Coast. 3 teams, they sent 6. So there's a lot of planning and a lot of preparation that goes into it, Wally.
So, Wally, how rough is this on the drivers?
There's a lot of planning for a driver as well. I mean, I'm going to Phoenix. I'm planning T-bone at Rustler's Roost one night.
Oh, come on.
Fajitas at Barrio's Cafe. Probably a little sporting clay shooting, maybe ride some dirt bikes. So there's a lot of planning for a driver as well. Yes, after Vegas, on my way to Phoenix.
Your life is rough.
You know that's true.
Yeah, but and when you come in and complain about your seat not being right, I'm going to say, you fix it.
That's a little tighter.
We'll continue this discussion a little bit later, but how would you like to see your picture or tweet on air? Well, you can. Hop on Twitter and let us know how you are enjoying NASCAR's West Coast swing with the hashtag #HowDoYouRaceDay. We'll feature some of the best throughout the show.
Coming up on NASCAR Race Day, some guys are just pretty comfortably to travel out west, but nobody better than Jimmy Johnson. And Larry McReynolds sits down with him.
When your sponsor puts that trophy up, there's a lot of pride in taking it out of the track. Is it still the big wrench? It is still the big wrench.
The rookie campaign for the number 19 driver is underway. We look at the difficulties for this young driver. And up next, Caitlin Vincey sits down with another rookie.
I started racing full-size stock cars in 2009, and I was 13, and that's not that long ago.
Stick around. Race Day continues next.
Welcome back to Race Day, everybody. Moments ago, drivers made their way into the drivers' meeting. Ryan Blaney starts third today, going for that first win. Martin Truex Jr. starts up on the front row alongside of Brad, and so is Casey Kane up there. He lines up in the 7th position, off to a great start. Joey Logano won the Xfinity race yesterday. He will start 6th today, and the most popular driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr., will start 18th today. With that in mind, it is time to get you up to speed on the week's news and notes. Las Vegas Motor Speedway has added a second race date to the NASCAR schedule starting in 2018. It will be the only track to schedule to feature 2 triple headers in a year. Vegas will replace the fall New Hampshire race currently in the chase. And a little leftover from Daytona, problems for the 47 car in post-race inspection. The team did not have their lug nuts properly installed. Crew Chief Randall Burnett has been fined $65,000 and suspended for 3 races. And yesterday, the Xfinity cars hit the track for a little racing here in Vegas. Let's take a look.
Let's put the green flag in the air and go racing in Las Vegas. Kyle Larson working on the point. How entertaining is this? This might be a real fun finish here, stage 1. Final lap, final corner. I think it was a photo finish by 6/100ths of a second. Kyle Busch able to win. Final lap, stage 2. This time around, it's going to be all about Brad Keselowski. Joey Logano in the race lead, going to choose that outside lane. 4 laps to go. Larson looking good in that lower lane. Larson closing in, but he's not going to get there. Logano 2-0 in the 12 car last year. Joey Logano a winner.
That Xfinity Series, along with the Truck Series, is no doubt home to some of the future Monster Energy Series talent. And one example certainly is Eric Jones. The Michigan native made his NASCAR debut in the Truck Series in 2013 at age 17. Years later, he had captured that championship and set his eyes to bigger things. So how does he stay grounded with that much success at such a young age? Caitlin Vincey sat down with him to find out.
Second career victory of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Eric Jones, a winner.
Coming down across the stripe for the fourth time this season, it's Eric Jones.
The youngest champion ever in the Camping World Truck Series, Eric Jones.
When you kind of look at your career from trucks to Xfinity now to Cup, has it moved fast for you, or do you feel like it's been a pretty natural progression?
No, it's moved pretty fast. You know, I think I started racing full-size stock cars in 2009, and I was 13, and that's not that long ago. Once I got in the truck, things just really ramped up. 2013, I ran 5 truck races. 2014, I ran a few more and then ran some Xfinity races, which was great. I had all the opportunities, you know, you could ask for it at 16, 17, 18 years old. And it was interesting to see how it all played out. At times, especially in 2015, I felt overwhelmed where I was running, you know, I ran upwards of 50, almost 60 races, but all of it was pretty beneficial.
So we know what makes you an extraordinary 20-year-old, but what makes you an ordinary one?
Number one, I've lived in this house for about 3 years, and I've never painted any walls in here. I have trouble keeping the place clean. I never have food in my fridge. I can barely cook. I could probably go on for quite a while about things that make me a pretty ordinary 20-year-old. The only thing that I don't do that's ordinary for a 20-year-old, I think, is drive race cars.
I'm 29, and our list is pretty similar, so I don't know what that says about me.
Yeah. You know, I don't see my future changing much anyways either, so I think I'll be on the same level.
My dad, we need to announce that sometime he actually got diagnosed with cancer. You know, pretty emotional. It was the first race win that they haven't been here for, so hard to hold the emotions back for that one.
Last season, just a difficult year for you in the personal sense, losing your father. What were some things you did to try and get you through that time in your life?
It was tough. You know, obviously kind of unexpected time for me, not something that at 20 years old you really think about too much. My dad was a big part of my racing life and a big part of, you know, everything outside of racing, my finances and everything I did, he helped me with. So, you know, it's crazy how things work out. I was racing in Michigan the week he passed away. Luckily, I was racing in Michigan. I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere else but home. So racing that weekend was definitely tough for me, but I think I grew a lot throughout the whole process. But definitely a different world, you know, here today without him being here.
After the year you experienced last year, what did you learn kind of about your support system?
If I had anything going on, I'd call my dad, go through him, what do you think, and then we'd work it out. Losing that and having to build kind of a support system around me has been a big thing. Obviously, my family's there. It's been tough to try to build that support system without my dad and figure out everybody's role because he did do so much, and kind of reorganizing that has probably been the toughest thing for me.
For you, looking at Furniture Row Racing, with everything they'd already done with Martin Truex Jr., what was kind of going through your mind when you realized, hey, I'm going to be in the Cup Series next year?
It's a huge burden to start another team at any company, especially when they've been a one-car team for so long. So to get all those pieces in place was kind of a long time in the making. And finally, when it was like, yeah, this is going to happen, we've got a sponsor in 5 Hour Energy, you know, that was a big day for me growing up. Any young kid that wants to race in NASCAR wants to race at the Cup level. And to be one of the 40 guys, not only to get to do it, but get to do it in a top-tier ride is just huge.
Looking around here at all the trophies, what are the goals for this year? What trophies do you want to add to the list?
I'd love to just add one trophy. Just to get one race win in the Cup Series in my first year would be a huge accomplishment for me.
Caitlin, thank you very much. Eric has been off to a pretty good start here in his rookie campaign. For more on the start to his year, we head to our eBay pit box. There's only one pit stop for every gearhead. Check out eBay Motors and find every part for every part of your car. Caitlin, what do you have for us from our eBay pit box?
Well, John, Eric Jones is coming off a strong run last week at Atlanta, one of the more non-traditional mile-and-a-half racetracks, and then coming here to Las Vegas, already showing good speed once again. And I checked in with that team to find out where his comfortability is at with the Cup car, and they said every week it just gets better and better. And it also helps that he's won here in a truck at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But they said when Eric comes on the radio and gives driver feedback, he's very confident in himself and the changes he needs out of that 77 car. But when you look at these rookies as a whole, Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez, Ty Dillon, it helps that they have run in the Truck and Xfinity Series at a lot of these racetracks. Makes that learning curve a little bit easier. Eric Jones, though, was the highest qualifying rookie. He will start 8th today. John?
Yeah, Caitlin, thank you very much. Any experience certainly helps these guys. They're off to a decent start, all of the rookies this year, Wally. But as Caitlin mentioned, they have experience in those other series, but they're up against a lot more.
Well, you also mentioned comfortable, and that's really what these guys are trying to do. You know, they're coming from Xfinity into the Cup Series, and the competition is so much harder here. So they're trying to get used to their surroundings a little bit. You also want to be aggressive as a rookie. I mean, you want to try to get what you can, but you're also trying to earn the respect of the veterans. You're driving around guys that have been there and done that. You don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to screw up a veteran's, day. So it's just a learning process. But that is, as she said, the key word is just getting comfortable. And every race you do, the more laps you get, the more comfortable you get with the competitors you're running against. That's what it's all about for
And the thing is, you use that word comfortable, and they put you in a series all of a sudden that they took all the downforce of the cars away. They gave you more horsepower, and you're going up against some of the toughest guys you're ever going to race against in your life. So, you got to start working on some things like communication, especially with your crew chief, because he can't fix that race car if you can't help him. You've also got to realize I'm not in the same league I was in a year ago. It's going to be more difficult. So if I get in a hurry, I'm going to lose these guys' respect because I'm going to run into something. I'm going to make a mistake and get myself in trouble. We saw that at Daytona. So really, it's about communication, getting these spotters working with the crew chiefs, getting them settled down. They're going to be here for a long time. So just realize this is a short period that you got to adjust.
Yeah, and realizing how big that step is from one series to another. Now, one of those rookies moved up to the Cup Series rather suddenly. Daniel Suarez had just 2 full-time seasons in Xfinity before moving to Cup this year. He finished 29th at Daytona and 21st at Atlanta, and he cracked the top 20 today. Right now, he's with Kenny.
Thanks, John. Well, Daniel Suarez, last year's NASCAR Xfinity champion. You are big time now. You're in the Cup Series. How's it going?
Everything has been good so far. The team has been working hard to try to make that transition for myself as smooth as possible. Even when last year we were successful in the Xfinity Series, it's a big jump. It's a big jump to be racing full-time with all these guys, super competitive. You make a small mistake, and it's 10, 15 positions. So it's been good so far, learning still from everything, but so far so good.
Out of everything you've done inside the garage area, on the racetrack, appearances, what is the one thing that has caught you off guard in the Cup Series that is much harder?
I think restarts. Wow. On Xfinity Series, normally the restarts are good, are aggressive. The top 10 is always like a lot going on. But it seems like in the Cup Series, the whole field is like busy. Like everyone is moving around, everyone has a lot of experience, everyone wants to move forward as fast as possible, and it's tough to do that. So just trying to get used to everything, because definitely all these guys, they are aggressive, they are going, and they're racing hard all the time. So I'm still getting used to all this. Obviously, I want to be aggressive. I don't want to make mistakes. I want to earn that respect. But I think we're going to get there. We just need to, take it step by step, just like we did in the Xfinity Series.
I learned over the week that they call you Danny in Mexico. I've been calling you Daniel my whole life. What is it, Danny or Daniel?
For some reason in Mexico, everyone knows me as Danny.
Danny, Danny.
It's Danny now, because here in the U.S., people call me Daniel, but I guess we have to change that a little bit to Danny.
All right, John, we are going to call him Danny, Daniel. I think I might call him Danny. John?
You can already call him champion, right? Daniel Suarez is part of that Toyota group looking to slow down Ford. We want to know if you think Ford can win their 3rd straight. It's part of our Connect Live debate. We'll also talk season surprises and NASCAR goes west. Make sure to head to foxsports.com/vote to play along.
Coming up on race day, since we're in Las Vegas, we check in on the odds for which driver will go to victory lane. It's time to let it ride. Plus, the Daytona 500 champ is back home and brought the hardware with him. Kurt Busch joins us next.
Welcome back, everyone, to NASCAR Race Day from Las Vegas. Kevin Harvick will roll off 19th today, a little lower than we typically expect from him. But remember to claim your free Bloomin' Onion on Mondays after Kevin Harvick places in the top 10. And one of the cool things about NASCAR Going West is all the cool stuff you get to see thanks to our friends at Toyota. This is the Neon Sign Museum in Las Vegas. It collects old neon signs synonymous with the Las Vegas Strip feel. It acts as a type of a boneyard for Las Vegas's lost treasures. Definitely something cool to check out if you're ever out there. All part of the experience as NASCAR goes west. Now, you may be wondering, all this talk about going west, but what does it really mean for the drivers? Well, for some of the smaller teams in particular, going west is quite the challenge.
NASCAR Goes West is tough on my mind. I'd say the biggest challenge is scheduling it all.
Really, the most difficult part of NASCAR Goes West is just traveling back and forth.
I think it's 27 hours of flight time for those 3 race weekends. You realize about 2 weeks into it that you're like, I'm ready to get back home.
The toughest thing is not so much on me, but it's really tough on the crew.
You've got to transport these race cars back and forth across the country and have 6 or 7 cars ready to go because you don't have the time to get back, fix one, and take them.
Bringing additional haulers back and forth, it's a pretty big undertaking.
Once you get through that, it's like a sigh of relief, and it's also a sense of accomplishment that, hey, we made it through it, especially being a small team. That's a lot of preparation for that trip.
So there are a lot of logistics that go into this whole thing, but as you can see, guys, from hearing from them, it really affects the small teams the most.
Yeah, and I think Jeff can tell you more about that. But, you know, the bigger teams, they have more people, they have more transporters, they have more cars, they can, you know, get things in place a lot more, where these smaller teams don't. I mean, they have to go back and forth all the time, and it makes it tougher. I mean, you certainly get a lot less rest. Yeah. And but I mean, Jeff, you've been there, you've done that. Well, it's so different now. You know, when you look at some of the bigger teams against smaller teams.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, they're able to bring out, like, you know, the primary car and a backup car. For these, you know, smaller teams, they'll bring out a primary car, but don't be surprised to see them somewhere like maybe the South Point or somebody's, you know, parking lot unloading their backup car from Vegas and making it into their Phoenix backup car. So they'll make changes accordingly so they can use that car, and then they'll go on down and run this weekend. And sometimes, you know, the crews will stay out for that reason, help them make the transition, and then the following week they'll do the same thing before they go on.
It's all about being creative.
It is.
You know, for some of those drivers, it's actually a trip back home. Let's take a look at some of the drivers who are from out west. You see Bakersfield, California is the home of Kevin Harvick. And then Derek Cope, of course, from Spanaway, Washington. Jimmy Johnson calls El Cajon, California. A.J. Allmendinger's a Californian as well. And then Michael McDowell calls Phoenix, Arizona home. And another one of those hometown heroes for this weekend is standing by with Kenny Wallace.
Thanks, John. Well, Kurt Busch, you win the Daytona 500, and then the next week you finish 7th at Atlanta. Is this a dream start for you?
It truly is. I mean, I have to pinch myself still with the Daytona 500 win, and honestly, all the switch over at SHR to switch to Ford, all the hard work and all the crew guys and all the chemistry right now from everybody, it is a dream start.
Speaking of the Daytona 500 win, you are touring your homeland here in Vegas. This is where you were raised. You're taking the trophy to your local high school. Tell us everything that's been going on with that.
Yeah, taking around Earl. It's hashtag Where's Earl? And yes, we got the trophy. It's literally either in my hotel room or the back of my rental car. We went to my high school, Durango High School, to say hi to the kids there, and really neat pep rally, Spirit Day at my high school, and then took it up to Star Nursery, which was my car owner in the Southwest Tour, the guy that helped me get a start in NASCAR racing. So I went to one of his nurseries, did an autograph session, and you know, we'll get the big race in today. Hopefully we can win Vegas, my hometown, and then we'll take Earl out on a night out on town tonight. So look for some pictures later on. I know he's going to the crap stable. He was feeling hot, and he wants to go roll tonight.
John, he is off to a fast start. Do not count him out today. John?
Yeah, what a big finish that would be, Kenny, if he could win in his hometown of Las Vegas. Coming up after the break, our expert on everything gambling, Todd Furman, joins us to let it ride. We look at the odds for today's race and who is poised for a big upset. Stick around. Welcome back to NASCAR Race Day. Las Vegas is the gambling capital of the world, and when NASCAR rolls into town, the odds makers and the bettors take special notice. So to make sure we knew what was going on, we thought we'd hit up our good friend Todd Furman for some insider information as we let it ride. Todd, how's it going out there?
It's going real well, John, and for one time all season, we can say this isn't for entertainment purposes only when NASCAR goes west. Stopped at the casino this morning, got my action in, and I'm more than happy to try and share a few winners with everybody.
Well, Todd, first of all, we heard you earlier this week on Race Hub with some of the picks and odds favorites. What has moved since then?
You've actually had favorites flip. We know Brad's going to be sitting on the pole. His number 13-2 early in the week. He's come down to 5-1. Kevin Harvick, of course, starting 19th on the grid. That price has drifted out. I think it offers ample opportunity there. Ryan Blaney, though, has been the biggest mover from 50-1 down to 28-1. We know he had the fastest 10-lap averages, but the real question is, can the 21 find his way to victory lane and get that elusive first victory?
Now, Todd, we all love the old prop bet. This time around, we're talking manufacturers. Who do you like?
This one hasn't changed from when we talked on Thursday. I still think Ford is the class of the field. You look at what Fords have been able to do at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, representing a shade under 48% of manufacturer victories. That is the largest percentage for any of the three main manufacturers at the 23 active Cup tracks.
So, Todd, let's get right down to it. Who are the favorites to win?
I think you have to protect with the two favorites. I know Brad and Harvick's numbers have switched. You have to protect there. Now, if we're going a little bit deeper into the field trying to find value, I think Chase Elliott, who's been on the move this morning, offers a lot of opportunity as well. Kyle Larson, for me, I'm not jumping off that bandwagon just yet. And the aforementioned Ryan Blaney, I hate taking the worst of the number, but I really think he has an opportunity to be in the thick of things from start to finish. And if you can back up your bet with a top three finish, you could do a lot worse than having a ticket on the 21 in your back pocket today.
All right, Todd, thank you very much. We appreciate you joining us, and thanks for the information.
Always a pleasure, John. Enjoy the race.
All right, now it's time for us to play a little long shot betting, guys. There is a chance that some of these drivers could upset the apple cart, if you will. And we really think that Jamie McMurray, as a long shot, has a good shot to win this race because of the way that team's been reacting lately, Wally.
Yeah, I mean, glad Todd picked my guy, the 21.
He agreed.
I don't know if he's a long shot, but I like the odds.
Well, the thing is right now, when you're looking for a long shot, I'm looking for somebody who can kind of like jump out there, make me a bunch of money, and at the same time turn a lot of heads. And I'm going to go with Austin Dillon because he's at 40-1. And guys, even though they start mid-pack, they have found speed. Talking to Slugger Labby at RCR, just give us some time. Good track for the kid.
Remember, it's Vegas. Anything can happen. One long shot to keep an eye on today is Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who is listed at 100-1. That team is headed in the right direction. Last week, he started 4th and finished 13th. Can Ricky and Roush Fenway continue the momentum? He's with Caitlin.
Thank you, John. Ricky Stenhouse just hanging out with me on the red carpet here. Vegas always does it right. I know you've kind of had a fun week here, hanging out with some UFC fighters, doing some training. What was that experience like?
That was a lot of fun, and I realized that I stayed tensed up too much. My forearms got a little tired, but you know, Forrest Griffin's here and Cowboy and Kane that were there. They taught Ty and I a little bit of the basics. I actually tried to get Forrest to see if he wanted to do some pit stops for us today, but he said he's past his prime. But he's here to hang out, which is cool. You know, something that Monster's able to do is cross over between all of their different sports that they have and, you know, athletes all across the board. It's cool.
All right, well, you're not someone I'd want to get in a fight with, and now that you have some training under your belt. So let's talk about the race today. I know you're going to a backup car. Any concern there for you at all with no laps in that car yet?
You know, I think back in the day, people used to have a lot of concerns of going to a backup car, but, you know, I feel like these teams and engineers, they build these cars so close together, and they have so many calculations to make sure they get everything right. So I feel really confident getting in our backup car with the Fast and Hog boys, doing all the work to it. Actually, you know, they're over there working on it right now. So, you know, getting it perfect. We made some adjustments because, you know, we were just a little too loose all weekend, and it finally bit us there. So we plan on running the top. We got a lot of cars to pass. Should be a fun race, though.
Thanks for your time. Good luck to you. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has an Xfinity win here at Las Vegas from 2012. Would love to add a Cup one to the list. John?
Caitlin, thanks. Ricky has some ground to make up in today's race, going to the back of the field in the backup car, so keep an eye on him being a big mover.
Still ahead on race day. Jimmy Johnson sits down with Larry Mack down in Vegas.
You know, we're not as bad as we are sitting over there in the garage here. I don't know if I can find my race car over there in the garage here this week.
And up next, we look at what has drivers going so fast on pit road. Who might get busted today? Race Day continues on FS1.
Let's spin the wheel. Let's see the slots. Let's bet it all on what we've got. Oh, let's ignore all the best advice. Baby, let's roll the dice. Baby, let's roll the dice.
Welcome back to NASCAR Race Day and welcome to Las Vegas. Who can roll the dice here in Sin City and come away with a big jackpot? The prize, a win and a spot in NASCAR's playoff. We go racing for 400 miles in under an hour on Fox. Once again, the wall shows us a 1.5-mile track, but again, that's where the similarities end. Brad Keselowski has the pole and the last victory here. So far this season, we've spent quite a bit of time talking about speeding on pit road, and that's foremost on many drivers' minds today.
Pit road speed is kind of slow here, 45 miles an hour.
Last week was the first time we've been to Atlanta with the shorter timing zones. Pit road timing zones used to be around 300 feet apart. Now they're 150 feet apart.
You know, now that they've added more lines, it hasn't changed much for me, but I know for a lot of drivers that were really maxing out their pit road speeds and able to get that little jump of speed before getting to their box or leaving, they've had to throttle back a little bit.
When they're twice as long, even if you're not trying to, cheat a segment or do something like that, if you get going a little bit, you got some room to slow down and correct. But for us, we just had the stuff set too aggressively.
20 car, too fast, pit road.
Very early on, before we ever made a stop, they said you need to be careful. They've already busted 4 or 5 guys for speeding, and that they've been on it.
I have my lights, and the way they're set up is if I flicker red, I should be okay. But you're thinking in the back of your mind, oh no, I don't need to have any red anymore because the segments are so close.
I think especially after they change something to the track, you just kind of got to start over and get a good baseline and err to the slow side.
This weekend will be brutal because we've never had these timing lines here at Vegas, and then Vegas notoriously is difficult on speeders.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things where everybody just kind of learns the new boundary and then they get settled in and it kind of goes away.
Yeah, and let's take a look at that history of speeding on pit road at Las Vegas. Jeff, if you take a look at the numbers over the past few years, you can see it was almost a progression over the years with them really hitting it in 2015 down to 8, but still 8's a big number.
It is a big number. You could say they started figuring out we might gain a little bit here, a few speeding penalties, but the main thing is NASCAR got tired of seeing these numbers. They said, well, we're going to make a few changes here, and I think what they did since last year will pretty much put a stop to this as far as I'm concerned. 2016, you can see these are the timing lines. These are the segments right here, JR. And the thing is, when you go down through, there's a lot of room, John, for us to be able to speed. When these guys passed over this line, you have a pit route 24, you go, you just shoot right in there. Yep. No problem. Here, even at the end, you take off and you got one of these pit boxes here, you could shoot out and you didn't have to worry about getting caught because there was no timing lines. 2017, we went from 8 all the way up to 14. And more importantly, look, they actually put a timing line right in the very beginning here, as well as at the end, to keep these end pits from taking advantage of everybody. And in between, every one of these segments is thinking about one thing. It's a speed trap. Yep. We got you last year, but this year we're going to doubly get you if you decide you're going to speed and take advantage of your competition.
So be careful what you ask for. They asked for consistency on pit road, and they got it. Now, for even more on how drivers are keeping track of their speeds on pit road, let's head out to the Hollywood Hotel in Las Vegas and catch up with Larry McReynolds.
Well, John, the word here at Las Vegas has been go fast, but not too fast on pit road. So what we're going to do, we're going to use our Ford Cutaway car, and we're going to go inside the driver cockpit and what the driver is looking at. This is the digital dash they use. You can see all the gauges and the tachometer. But what he's really looking at, are these lights up here. Now, we've chose 4,000 RPM is 45 plus the 5 miles per hour. That's the speed you want to be. When you're right on 4,000, all the green lights are lit up. But if you start going over 4,000, it starts to bring in the red lights, which tells the driver he's too fast. Now, if for some reason you fall below 4,000, some of the lights will start cutting off. You know you're not going fast enough. But if you see how sensitive these lights are, it's the filter system in this digital dash. That's what the drivers have told me. It's almost hard to maintain that speed. Now, one thing about it, the tachometer, you really don't even need it. All the driver needs to look at are these lights. But one thing, John, that Jimmy Johnson told me the other day, with the shorter pit road segments like at Atlanta and Las Vegas this week, if you do get in the red lights, it's almost hard to slow down to get back to that minimum speed.
Yeah, Larry, thanks. It certainly is. There's so much going on inside the cockpit of the car when they're coming down pit road. But, Jeff, they got a chance this week, kind of unprecedented, to look at the speeds on a laptop while their drivers were going down there. So now there's getting to be fewer and fewer excuses, though, for drivers.
Well, you know, the thing was originally to be able to get those lights set, we had to kind of like use a multiplication table, you know, time over distance. And that's how the engineers would set those lights. Then beginning of the race, we get behind the pace car when they were going around, and that's how you kind of double checked it. But now all of a sudden, with what they did on Saturday, they were able to let the guys practice coming down pit road. This is the first time NASCAR's ever done this. And you could have your engineers stand there, look at the monitor, just like what NASCAR's looking at up in the tower. And as you come down pit road, you could find out and get your red lights and green lights balanced like you need to and understand, okay, how much do you want to push it? And Wally, to me, I think it's crazy to push it, and we'd be worried about losing maybe 1 or 2 spots on pit road compared to maybe going to the back of the longest line.
Well, I'm never a big fan of taking excuses away from drivers.
I love your honesty.
Yeah, I mean, but, you know, there is a lot going on inside of a race car when you come down pit lane. I mean, you know, you're inside the car, you can't see really well. You've got either your spotter or your crew chief counting you down to your pit stop. You're trying to keep your pit speed. You're trying not to run into anybody getting your pit box or somebody getting out of your pit box. And all the while, you're trying not to lose any spots when you finish your pit stop. So there is a lot going on. But with the extra line, certainly, these guys are going to have to pay attention to it. You're right. You're better off just coming in under. If you lose a spot or 2 on a pit stop because you were, you know, not getting out, that's better than starting at the tail end of the line.
Yeah, I don't want you to call me on the radio and say, I'm sorry, guys, I got caught speeding and lost the race.
Yeah. Yep, exactly what happened to Kevin Harvick last week was a heartbreaker in Atlanta. Now, Kenny Wallace, has been at the track all week and has been keeping a close eye on the new timing lines on pit road. Yesterday, he was up in the control tower learning how NASCAR keeps track. But today we ask, where's Wallace?
Thanks, John. You know, the big story this week, it's the same story as last week, speeding on pit road. So we wanted to show you a little bit of touchy-feely. Everybody talks about these new loops. As we know, there's 14 of them here. This is a loop, okay? They bury the wire in this groove. It circles around and goes back. I've always wondered that. I'm like, why do they call it a loop? Well, now I know. There's a loop. Now, this transfers up there to the NASCAR officials, and then they monitor all the speeds. And then this loop with the transponder on the race car tells you when they are speeding. Once again, there was only 8 of these last year. There's 14 now. Here's the bottom line, John. Don't speed. Drivers, teams are always trying to beat this system. You cannot beat it any longer. And NASCAR is expecting more speeding penalties this year because they feel like they might have learned a little bit at Atlanta, and they're going to try to carry it on here. So when your favorite driver gets busted, remain calm. John?
Yeah, Kenny, there can be a hefty fine for that type of speeding. Thanks, Kenny. Ryan Newman knows a thing or two about getting around Las Vegas. In his last 6 races here, he's finished 4 times in the top 10, including 3 top 5s. Can he get back into victory lane today? Right now, Ryan is with Caitlin.
Well, John, I certainly think it is possible. Now, one thing that's been a big topic of conversation is the timing lines added here at Las Vegas. Pit road was a big issue with penalties last week. Any concern there? Have you practiced at all coming onto pit road in the practice sessions throughout the weekend?
I practiced a little bit getting onto pit road and getting off of pit road, but not so much about the speed on pit lane. I'm usually the guy that's a little bit more conservative than the guys that push the number because there's more, sometimes there's more risk than there is reward. But at the same time, you have to know how to get to that line, so to speak. And I think our Caterpillar Chevrolet has been pretty good, but you know, the biggest thing you can do is make that mistake. A very small mistake can turn into a very big mistake real quick.
I want to go back to Atlanta for a moment. I know you had the alternator issues late in the race, but the positives you can take away from that, just putting a whole weekend together with qualifying in the race, what were the positives you took away?
Yeah, qualifying well and racing well was a good start to the season for us. I mean, Daytona's the true original start, but Atlanta's kind of a different start, and it hasn't worked yet for sure for us here in Vegas. We didn't qualify well, but I think we found out last night what we were doing wrong. So Caterpillar Chevrolet should be pretty good, and you know, just it's such a big bonus when you don't run well for the better part of a year to come out the second race of the year and run well. Even though we didn't finish well, we still ran well.
Well, thanks for your time. Good luck to you. Ryan Newman starting 21st for today's race. John?
Caitlin, thank you. Newman will start alongside his teammate Austin Dillon on row 11 today. Stick around, everybody.
Still ahead on NASCAR Race Day. We head back to the track for an all-access interview with a 7-time champ, Jimmy Johnson.
This is NASCAR Race Day.
Welcome back to NASCAR Race Day, everyone. Jimmy Johnson knows a thing or two about handling the West Coast swing. He has 4 wins here in Vegas, and we had a couple of questions for our drivers about NASCAR Goes West. It's time for the Race Day Pop Quiz.
Oh, shoot. I gotta do math.
Okay, hold on. All right, I'm gonna run 301 miles or something at Phoenix. 302, whatever that race is.
It's technically a 312-mile race. 800, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1101? 1112. Not Loudon. Loudon's 301. Terrible quiz. Nobody's gonna know the answers to this. 1112? I'm good at this stuff. 1112? Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
1,112? Boom. Nailed it. 1,112 miles. Did I get it? Yes. Oh, I bet Brad gets that too. 1,112 miles. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The driver that has the most wins at those tracks combined is probably...
That'd be me.
Like any driver of the whole sport.
Kevin Harvick.
Kevin Harvick? I would say Jimmy Johnson. Probably Jimmy. Jimmy Johnson? Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson.
Harvick. Jimmy, well, damn, man. I thought you'd make it hard. He's won everything. He's the answer to half the questions in NASCAR.
At least half. I wish we could just keep playing that music, you know, throughout the whole show. Take a look at the westward swing for Jimmy Johnson, his starts and his wins. Pretty staggering numbers there, and anything in yellow there is the most among active drivers. So, Wally, safe to say, Jimmy is pretty good out west.
Right, would you say that? That's sick.
Duh.
I mean, look at all the laps he's led in all those races. And, you know, it seems to me when he does go out there, he kind of steps up a little, especially when he goes to Fontana. That's his hometown racetrack. He always seems to get excited about that race and runs well there. But, yeah, I mean, and then it's a great chance for him, too, to get that win early, you know, because he likes that West Coast, get that win early. Then they kind of, seems like they go off and try some things. But I wouldn't be surprised if when they come back east, he's got to win.
Well, and the reason why, when you start thinking about it, guys, he adapts as well. If not, he shows he's the best guy doing that. No matter what cars they bring out here, low downforce, high downforce, it doesn't matter. And you combine that with Chad Canalsa, sometimes his aggressive calls on pit road, he puts Jimmy in a position where all of a sudden he's up front late in the race, and that cat is hard to beat. He is a great deal closer. When you look at the number of races that he has won in the latter part of a stage of a race, just like last year at Homestead, he gets it done.
Yeah, so west, Midwest, East, whatever. It doesn't matter. Jimmy Johnson's got a chance to win it. Now, the list of accomplishments for NASCAR Goes West, or any track for that matter, is impressive for Jimmy Johnson, not to mention 7 Cup championships. But it's more about rewriting the record books for the driver of the 48 car and his quest for 8. Larry McReynolds sat down with him to find out just what that achievement might mean.
It's Jimmy Johnson. History-making 7th championship.
Yes! Yes! My God, we did it! Yes! Man, I am so proud of you. Now you're a 7-time champion.
7-time NASCAR champion, Jimmy Johnson.
8. That's what comes after 7.
Yeah.
And that's something nobody else has accomplished. How big of a dot on the radar is that?
I don't have a ton of pressure for 8. Last year wasn't the most fun at different points, but through the tough times, I still found a way to enjoy myself. I'm learning to relax, and that's what I really want to do while chasing 8.
Speaking of having fun, I don't know if it's been fun yet.
I know.
Daytona, crashing the clash.
One car slides to the inside. It's Johnson.
Crashing the duel, crashing the 500.
Jimmy Johnson gets turned.
Okay, we're done with Daytona. We go to Atlanta, where you were trying to get 3 consecutive wins. It's quicker to tell you the things that didn't happen to you than what happened. It's been a bumpy start here.
It has, and I mean, go to Atlanta, we definitely had a top 5 car, but us and many others had issues on pit road, and I feel like there's speed in our cars. Sure, we didn't dominate Atlanta, but we're not as bad as we are.
4 wins here. It's been a while. 2010's the last one.
We've been able to win it a few times and took a lot of pride in that. I'd say we've been in the ballpark of winning the last probably 2 trips here. Some stuff late in the race has kind of worked against us, but we've had very competitive cars, and from a 1.5 mile perspective, this is one of the more entertaining tracks from inside the car with line selections. The bumps down in 1 are only going to get bigger and worse and create more issues for us, so it's really fun to drive.
I want to step away from the 48 car and the racetrack a little bit. Your fitness journey. For years, I've seen you running, riding bikes, but it just seems like it's starting to become an epidemic. And the amazing thing, you got Dale Earnhardt Jr. on a bike. What did Dale Earnhardt Jr. wear? Was it the normal T-shirt and blue jeans?
He has been so freaked out over the tight-fitting cycling gear. And he made a lot of threats that he was going to be in like a jumpsuit for basketball to ride the bike, and he emerged in proper cycling apparel. He made us meet him outside the tunnel, so he put his bike in the car and drove it out. He didn't want to have an issue going through the tunnel and have everybody see it, but he had a great first ride, and he's been hot and heavy and getting fit.
You know, I really believe you're going to get that 8th championship. I don't know if it's going to be this year.
Who
like
knows?
you said, nobody knows. 100 wins. You're sitting at 80 right now. You won 5 last year. All you got to do is repeat last year for the next 4 years. You got it. Is 100 wins a big deal, too?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look at it and try to get there and just try to win every race. But
you get to 100 wins, I'd say the championship's going to follow.
Championship will happen. That's a great point. But I've never been motivated by stats. I'm so happy with the things I've accomplished. But for me, it's about the experience in the garage. You know, I'm now the old guy on the team, so to help Chase Elliott, to be there for Dale, to be there for Casey, to have William Byron coming along, I'm just looking at it in a different way. So sure, I want 100, sure, I want 8, but there's more to this journey than just chasing those numbers.
Jimmy Johnson will start 16th in today's race. Watch out for him making a big move forward early on. We are debating about that 48 team when we get back, but the first question is whether Ford will win their 3rd straight. The voting is now open. Head to foxsports.com/vote and weigh in.
Still to come on race day, Kyle Larson has come oh so close in the last 3 races to another win. We show you just how close and check in with him from the track. Plus, the driver of the 2 car got back to victory lane last week and is looking to add to that here in Vegas.
This is NASCAR Race Day.
Welcome back to NASCAR Race Day from Las Vegas. Happy to have eBay on board this year. Fuel your passion. Browse the widest selection of parts for your ride on eBay Motorsports. Let's take a look at what is coming up on Race Hub this week. Yeah, don't want to miss Race Hub this week. Let's take a look at the manufacturers in the Monster Energy Cup this year so far. And you see Ford is leading the way. Chevrolet with 7 top 10s. This time last year, we were talking a lot about Toyota, but this time it is all about the Fords. And Kenny Wallace is standing by with one guy who wants to help lead that charge.
Thanks, John. Well, Clint Boyer, your manufacturer, Ford, is completely dominating right now. Win the Daytona 500. On pole at Atlanta, win the race at Atlanta, on pole here. Why are the Fords so well, hold on. I was going to ask him why the Fords are so fast. Maybe I should ask the Vice President of Competition, Zippy. Zippy, you going to tell us why the Fords are so fast?
Got good drivers.
He's not going to tell us.
He's going to put the pressure on me.
Zippy's the man. Why are the Fords so fast?
It's because of the people behind the scenes, because of the manufacturer and Ford, and you know, giving us every tool, everything possible that we need to go out and be fast, compete for these poles that you see Ford doing, and winning these races. You know, my teammate winning the Daytona 500, huge pep in the step for everybody at Stewart-Haas Racing. But, you know, as the competition director just said, it's all about the drivers. So this driver has to get off his butt and do better for him.
No. I'm going to brag on you, okay? Last year you got roughed up, but Tony Stewart chose you to drive this car because you've won a lot of races. This year, every time I look on the TV screen, you're up there in the top 10. How does that make you feel to be competitive again?
It's just fun, and I think that's the perfect word for it. I mean, just every conversation, you know, that we have after practice, after the race, you know, last weekend, you come back and you talk about competition, you talk about how you're going to be better the next time around your racetrack. So just super proud of the situation we're in, proud to have Haas on board. Gene, I just met his mom and his whole family's over here. But, you know, the truth be told about this very interview that we're doing.
Okay, he's not Kenny Wallace. You got to stop talking.
The pregame and the thought
John,
process that went in.
He is excited. He's running good again.
Awful.
Back to you, John.
That's the kind of information you can only get here on Race Day. Time now for our first Connect Live question, and we touched on it a few moments ago. It's those Ford cars off to a hot start. Can they win their third straight race? Head to foxsports.com/vote to play along. Wally, this one's simple. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Would be my answer. You know, they're just showing a lot of speed right now, and they're, you know, they're winning a lot of races. So why wouldn't you think they could?
Well, because the fact it's only happened twice in the history of Ford. 1957 was one year, and in 1992 they did it again. But they also went on to win 9 straight that year with 4 different Ford drivers.
You gentlemen are not swaying the voters at all, though. They're still leaning towards no. Why are they leaning towards no?
I don't
Slightly.
know. I have no idea, John.
Well, you got to sway them. That's your job.
There's a lot of Toyota fans out there.
You got Ford sitting on the pole. You got Ford winning 2 races. I don't know why we're not swaying.
100,000 of them, by the way, so far. Let's close the vote, and we find that our fans say 56% say that Ford will not win today. Question number 2. The Hendrick team is split into 2 shops. You have the 24 and the 5 in one camp, and the 48 and the 88 in the other. Which has been a bigger surprise for you, the former off to a hot start or the latter off to a slow start? This one, you start us out, Jeff Hammond.
I am very much surprised by that. I really expected the 48 and to be up there along with the 88s. But as long as Dale Jr. had been out, I thought we'd see a lot more of a jump than we did before. But
fans don't agree.
Well, at the same time, I mean,
and I'm going to say strong start because I'm going where they're going. Now let me see if I can sway them back to you, Jeff.
Go ahead, Wally, go ahead.
The 24 to 5 are off to an excellent start this year.
Yeah, can you believe that? Both those teams right there are in the top 10, while the other 2 are in the 30s. I mean, it's a big surprise, but, you know, the crashes, the bad luck, they will rebound. The 48 and the 88 will rebound, and they'll probably start today.
Yeah, every time we say what's wrong with the 48, they prove us that there's nothing wrong
the other way.
for the 48. Let us close the vote right now, and we see by a margin of 51% say that the slow start. 52.
Yeah, way to go, Wally. Good job.
I don't think Wally had anything to do with that. Final question. We're only at the first stop on our NASCAR Goes West tour, but which of these stops is your favorite? The 1.5 mile here in Vegas, the 1 mile track in Phoenix, or the big 2 miler out in Fontana, California? Wally, I have a sneaking suspicion what yours might be.
Yeah, I'm going to say Phoenix, and a lot of it just has to do. I've been going there since I was a little kid when my dad was driving Indy cars, and I always enjoyed going to Phoenix and racing there. I love the area, and used to always spend a lot of time out there.
You know, I think the fans are probably agreeing with you on that, and I can't disagree with you. I love that area, whether it's Scottsdale or whether you get out of Tombstone or up to Prescott.
Yeah,
isn't that right?
That's right. Yeah, right.
Like a biscuit. Yeah. I mean, it's just it's just a very unique part of our country.
Yeah, absolutely. So the fans say as we close the vote, shuffling around a little bit, 52% like Phoenix is the favorite stop. Thanks a lot. Over 100,000 fans. We do
Spring
appreciate
baseball, too.
Yeah, exactly. A lot going on out there. 78 degrees. The chance of rain is 0% in Vegas today, and we love hearing that as the fans will no doubt fill this arena today, whether it be the Neon Garage or the stands. Going to be a great day for motorcar racing out in Las Vegas.
Up next, our experts weigh in with who they think will strike it rich in Sin City. And is Kyle Larson on the verge of breaking out with multiple wins? He's getting close.
You're watching NASCAR Race Day, only on FS1.
Welcome back to Race Day, everyone. Kyle Larson has been fast all weekend, and he will start 5th today. He is trying to get back to victory lane, something that has eluded him as of late.
Jimmy Johnson trying to run to the inside of Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson trying to rally speed, but it's not there. Johnson slides under and he takes the lead. Mash the gas and make it roll. Larson the leader. Kurt Busch trying to go to the outside.
Down, down, down. Back up.
It's Kurt Busch to the lead on the backstretch.
Damn it, guys.
Larson, Kenseth, and Elliott Keselowski. Here we go.
Green flag.
Larson by a car length over Brad Keselowski.
You know what line he's running? Clear by 3.
Here comes Brad Keselowski, almost up to the quarter panel. He'll pull right down to the bottom of the racetrack. Brad Keselowski assumed the point here at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Good job, guys. Sorry, I couldn't hang on the lead there.
And take a look at the last 4 races for Kyle Larson. He was so close to winning these races, led a ton of laps, and always there in the end. Eventually, that's going to equal a win. Let's head out to Caitlin.
Yeah, John, Kyle with me now. We were just looking at your finishes over the last couple of weeks, so close to the wins. I know it's got to be frustrating to not be in victory lane, but what's some of the positives you can take from those performances and the takeaway for you?
I mean, honestly, it hasn't been too frustrating just because I didn't expect to start the season off this good. You know, I knew he'd be good, but I didn't know he would challenge for the 500 and then, you know, back it up at Atlanta and almost challenge for one there. So I've been happy with the performance in our Chip Ganassi racing cars, you know, Target and Credit One Bank. It's been a lot of fun. Definitely close to getting some wins. Would like to keep it rolling, and if we can just keep, you know, continuing to challenge for wins, you know, the wins will come.
And you challenged for the win last night with the Xfinity race, one of the few guys who kind of is doing double duty. How does that extra lap time help you as you look towards today's event?
I hope it helps some. You know, I know the Xfinity cars they've taken a lot of downforce off them, but they still don't drive anything like our Cup cars. They're got a ton of grip still and are a lot slower, where the Cup cars are wild and have a, you know, they're just hard to drive. So I hope I can take some things. I won't really know until I get out there, but hopefully what I learned yesterday will play a factor.
Well, thanks for your time. Good luck to you. Kyle Larson is starting 5th for today's race. John?
Yeah, Caitlin's definitely starting up there, but while he not only has this driver stepped up over the past 4 races, it's a team as well.
Well, the team has, and it's interesting. You know, we were talking about this morning in our meeting, and I'm like, you know, I don't think he really is frustrated because he is running. They are running better. He should probably have 3 more wins to go with his Michigan win from last year. But, you know, I've noticed that in some interviews. He's not beating himself up as much as he used to, because I think when he did run good, that was a slip away. They weren't consistent. This year, the team is so much better. So he's coming to the racetrack, running up front. He keeps doing what he's going to do, and he's going to start adding to that list of wins.
You know what that is? It's that young man right there knocking on the door of victory lane. Because I
thought that was just
right
you pounding on the desk.
That's just me pounding on the desk. But to your point, yeah, momentum is a big deal. But at the same time, what I think Chip Ganassi got with these guys at the end of last year, because they showed that they were getting a little bit better and said, look, you're this close. We have got to go the extra mile. Everybody's got to step up. And I think he challenged his 2 drivers. He challenged his car builders. I think they're building better cars. I mean, all that's done in-house. Their engineering is a lot better, because all of a sudden you see how the end result is. They're making the right calls during the course of the race. It's all coming together. And once again, if you run the top 5, top 10 all the time, you will get to victory lane.
Once again, shows you why it's a team sport. We are closing in on today's pre-race coverage on Fox. Right now, we're heading back to the track and the Hollywood Hotel, where we find Chris Myers. Chris?
Hey, thanks a lot, John. There are a dozen drivers that are 25 years of age or younger in today's race, and a rookie's never won. I don't know any of them, by the way. A rookie has never won here at Las Vegas, but there are high expectations for some of these young guys.
Oh, absolutely. We have some of them starting up in the top 12. You got Ryan Blaney, I think, starting 3rd. Eric Jones is up there. Suarez, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson. There's a lot of young talent that could win this race today.
Yeah, and I believe today one of those guys could just pull it off. I mean, Chase Elliott's been so close, but
But my man, Eric Jones, I'm going to talk to him on the parade lap, by the way. I really think that team, this is their third race together. It's a new team. He's a teammate to Martin Truex. Martin on the front row. Watch Eric Jones today. I think he's going to have a stellar day.
And Kyle Larson, those runner-up finishes, we're going to talk with him in detail and get your thoughts on him coming up in the pre-race show. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s never won here. He has finished second 3 times.
He's had some great runs here. He likes this racetrack. And you know, even though in practice we saw him struggling a bit, I could see him getting very happy and very confident in the car late in the practice session.
I love where Dale is right now. His confidence is so high. His debrief, when I listen to him talk to the crew chief, and he dissects the corners, and and tells them what the car needs better than I've ever heard him do before. He is engaged right now, and he's sitting on the top of a win.
Yeah, most of the drivers that are in today's race that have won here before are past champions. Guys like Matt Kenseth, who's won 3 times, but he's also 3 times been passed on the final lead change here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, you know, only 5 drivers in this field have won a race here at Las Vegas. It tells you how difficult and challenging this racetrack is and how experience really does pay off.
I think an interesting thing to watch today is Keselowski on the pole in that Ford, and Keselowski's going for 2 wins in a row, but Ford is going for 3 wins in a row, and they have not done that since 1992. So keep an eye on those blue ovals today.
Yeah, well, some of what we'll talk about on the Fox pre-race show, and on 15 seconds when we ask questions, we're going to talk about the noise level, bringing it down a little bit, but keeping the crank it up in
What'd you say?
We'll get to those. All right, I'll do the jokes. You answer the questions. Let's go back to John.
Chris, thank you very much. We want to keep the noise level up around here. Race coverage for the Monster Energy Cup Series is coming your way, 3 o'clock Eastern Time on Fox, and then NASCAR Victory Lane wraps everything up 9:30 Eastern Time on FS1. We're not quite done on race day. We make our picks for today's race when we get back, and you may want to keep an eye on some of the guys starting deep in the field.
NASCAR's version of Desert Storm. Drivers, start your engines! Boogity, boogity, boogity! Let's go racing in Las Vegas, boys!
Let's go find ourselves a W today. Drive the hell out of it. Let's go make it happen. We'll have some fun here.
3 wide into turn 3. New leader on 4 is Brad Keselowski.
We are closing in on 400 miles of NASCAR's best drivers taking on Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The defending winner is on the pole, but some young, hungry drivers are not far behind and want a piece of Sin City. Speaking of the drivers, driver intros are underway, and our reporters are backstage. It is time now for the lightning round, and we start with Caitlin.
Yeah, John, one of those hungry drivers would be Joey Logano, runner-up last year, but Joey, you feel like you've got a car that can get you the win this year?
I think so. You know, our car was really fast last year, and you know, I think kind of if you look at the way practice went, we weren't very good most of it, but towards the end we made some good adjustments, got our car faster, and it's hot today, so it'll be interesting to see how much that changes and how the Xfinity race yesterday, Robert, in the racetrack will be different. So I think I got, like I said, a good Pennzoil Ford, and I don't know, we'll push hard to see what happens.
Well, good luck to you. That's Joey Logano. He is starting 6th for today's race. And Kenny Wallace, I think he's got somebody else to hang out with as well. Kenny, who you got?
I'm 3 feet all the way over here. Harv, are you going to lead every lap again today?
Probably not starting 19th, but our Mobile One annual protection Ford is a lot better in race trim. We were just way too tight in qualifying trim, made some big adjustments, and we'll see where we fall when the race starts.
Okay, Caitlin, you're I think 3 feet from me. Do you have anybody?
One bus, sure.
Looky there, there's Jimmy Johnson.
I have, Jimmy Johnson, he's no stranger to winning at Las Vegas. How you feeling about your piece today, Jimmy?
I feel really good about it. We've had a very comfortable car, and yesterday in traffic, working through some scenarios, it did a lot of things right. So I'm tired of seeing people leave this racetrack with our Kobalt Tools trophy, and I want to take it home, especially for the last race for Kobalt Tools being here.
Well, good luck to you. Jimmy looking to add another trophy to his collection today, John.
Caitlin, thank you. Before we get you back track side, let's take a look at how you raced day. Peggy started her day out in Vegas the right way. with a beautiful sunrise. And Tina shares Cole and Uncle Rob's rooting for the 22 today. And finally, Eddie is geared up for another Jimmy Johnson win in Vegas. Thanks for playing along, everybody, and keep tweeting hashtag How Do You Race Day. So now, let's go back to the racetrack and get some picks for a winner, guys.
And joining us now.
Well, I'm going with Kurt Busch, one of the hometown guys. I think he wins here in Las Vegas. Kenny, who are you picking today?
I'm going with a three-time winner here, Matt. The Brat Kenseth will win today.
All right, very good. John?
All right, back at the desk, guys. What do you think?
My head says Keselowski. My gut says Ryan Blaney.
Don't go with your head.
I know, I never do. I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney.
Going with Blaney, okay. That's a pretty good pick, Wally.
It's not a bad choice right there, but I'm kind of feeling like the 4 car will wind up getting it back right today. I think he kind of rebounds, comes up through the field, wins it.
Okay, because we are doing so badly with picks on this side of the desk, we once again consulted our corporate headquarters, this time in Flagstaff, Arizona, and the corporate headquarters say, Matt, the Brat Kenseth, as Kenny Wallace calls birthday boy from the other day, he will win this race today. So
we wound up picking winner last week, me and Kenny.
You and Kenny did?
Yes.
Okay, well.
Yes.
I
Get your
almost
facts
had it.
right.
I almost had it. No, I said we on this side of the desk, not you guys over there. What do you expect to see today, guys? Will we beat these pit road speeding penalties?
I think we beat pit road speeding penalties, but what's going to be the determining factor is these pit crews, whenever we come up to the stages, they've got to get on and off pit road and maintain the lead. Track position is going to be important.
I think there's still going to be some mistakes made on pit lane, but I think the big thing here with this track temperature and the way this racetrack is, you're going to have to find that balance. That car's going to have to handle on long runs in order to be fast.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is going to be fast because it is sunny today, no clouds. The clouds usually make the place slippery, so we're going to have grip today and high speeds on a beautiful day out in Las Vegas. Thanks for coming along for the ride, everybody, on this edition of NASCAR Race Day. Want you to sit back, enjoy the race on your local Fox affiliate, and then we'll wrap it up on Victory Lane. So long.